Brother-in-law, when he made this ladder is made of bamboo, which he went out and picked. Then he nailed this together. It weighs about 80 pounds. He carried it from his house where he built it, and I'll show you a picture of that very soon. Well, this is going to go up to a second floor, gallery bed, which they used to make a lot of in the UK. And I'm just in the process now of putting all the beams together. These are the beams that the roof will all be held together. That tarpaulin is down, covering some plywood. And there's a small bathroom going in. So that's that. That's all the new materials that we bought. And I was in the middle of working on when the brownout came. This, I guess, is what you would say is our front yard. That's a little house that they put up years and years ago. They dried coconut in there. And that's the house there that Beth's family were brought up in. She's one of 10 children. Very, very basic house, I can tell you. Power only came in a few months ago. There's no running water. There's no indoor plumbing. It's very, very basic. My brother-in-law is Manorado. I asked him for a small. I said, well, I need a small step so that I can work upstairs. This is what he made. Bamboo once again, and all put together, heavy as hell. And he carried it from his house again, which I'm going to show you right now. See, we're still in the grounds of the house that I'm building. And that's it. I'm just doing this on my phone, so quality is not wonderful. You can see some of the hills over there. I don't know whether you can see, but the carabao that is under that tree, that's where she lives. Those things are huge, believe me. And this is where we walk. We walk down this way, and this is where we walk to go for a bath at the local, the nearest well. Now, if you've been following me on Facebook, you'll know that my almost adopted daughter, Talik, is often seen in those pictures. And this, behind me, is her house. She's 8 years old. This is the house that she was brought up in. It's tiny. That's a little porch there. And over at the side there is where they do their cooking. That's their kitchen. You see those containers? Those are for bringing water from the well. And right behind, right in the distance there, I wouldn't normally come this close to the house. Right over there, that's Manorado's house. He carried that huge ladder from there by himself. I couldn't even lift it. See, over there is the rice fields. See, there's some rice planted there. Now is the time for rice. And that's all around. This is all that you can see, all around. A better shot probably behind me that you can see Manorado's house. He built that, and he just extended it, so you can see some work that's been done. And then behind me, if I take you around so I'm still in the picture, you can see the kind of countryside that I live in. It's breathtakingly beautiful. We walk down this hill to go to the well. And the well is where we bathe every day. No such pretensions as hot water. Well, no such pretensions as running water. That goes right to the hill. And that's actually the hill that we live on. So as you've guessed, this video is coming in bits and pieces. I press it and then stop so that you don't have too many boring bits. But you can see the path. This is the path that goes down to the well. Take it down. I improved things when I got here as much as possible. I'll show you the well. Okay, so I've walked down a little, and behind us the path continues, and then you'll see the well. When I first came here, all that the well was just, this particular one was just a hole in the ground with a little surround to stop people falling in, I guess. But that was a little too rough for me, so what I did was I had a little shelter made. What I did was I cut down some trees, cut down some coconut trees on the way out anyway, and I made a floorboard. It's still pretty rough, but I tell you what, it's a hell of a lot more comfortable than it was when I arrived. So this is this is it. And that's the well. Pull the bucket. Pull on the bucket. And that's where we get our water from. This is the washing well. And it's surrounded by rice fields. And what they do is, to keep the birds off, they put all this stuff up. They string all of this across with all of those flyers. And then they have someone who sits up in that house up there, and he pulls on the string. And it moves all of this stuff so that the birds don't come and demolish the crop. Right over there, that's the horizon. I have to say that while I do miss many things about living in civilization, I never ever tire of looking at how beautiful this is. Now if someone is down here using the well, like my sister-in-law, we go up and we sit in that little house there. The crop has been very recent, so this is all from that rice crop. And this is where we wait, and that's all fixed up there so that you're not in the sun. There's another shot of the well. So I've said many times on my Facebook page that this life can sound idyllic, but it's not for everybody. A lot of people couldn't take the solitude, but you know that I'm pretty good on that. Plus, I guess when you were a child, you had to get used to being alone too, and I know that you did. Well, this is the shot. There's where we just came from. There's the rice field with the streamers. Now this is the path, the rest of the path going up. See, things that were very simple, that we took for granted when I was in Florida, are no longer simple. Even walking along on this path is difficult enough. Well, difficult for me, especially in those slippers that everybody wears here that they can run on. They can jump off a speeding jeepney in those things, but I can't. That is Alex House again as we come up to it from the path from the well. And Arado's home, very, very basic. They don't have a kitchen, they cook outside, no water. They do have power now, and you can see that they have an antenna. So they have the required luxury, the television. And I believe it or not, there is a plough they hitch that to the carabao. Do some of their cooking here. Amazing. And over here in the bushes somewhere, one of the dogs has had a litter of puppies. But she's very shy about bringing those puppies here, so we don't know where they are, and we haven't seen them, but I expect that you can hear them. They're calling for their mother. So we're back now. This is the path from Lena, my sister-in-law's house, back up to our house. So there's 4 trees will have to be taken down there around the house. There are 4 coconut trees. That one that's right next to the house is not so healthy anyway, so they're not too sorry about that. But the others are a source of income, so that is quite a sacrifice. Okay, don't know how good the light is and whether you can see the old carabao there, but they're unpredictable animals. They know their keeper, and that's about it. But see those horns, about 15, 16 inches long, curved. They are not to be tampered with. And we're coming up. This is the pool that the carabao enjoys cooling off in. Apparently they suffer from overheating, so they have to be kept cool. And this will be the view out of our front porch. Here's the house. Front porch is going on here. This is another path that takes us down to the well. But if you look, there's really nothing. Most of the time, it's just the sound of the wind. I can live with that. That's taken me walking up in those hills. Other than those 2 houses that I've just showed you, I rarely see other houses unless I'm walking down to the road. And then, of course, there are other people who live closer to the path than we do. We're the end of the path. So that's the family home. And that little house that I showed you before for drying coconuts. And this is the front of the house. And Beth's parents were given this plot of land. It was just a hill. None of this vegetation existed. There's my bike. None of it existed. And this house is extended from the first one. The first one was a tiny house. But Beth's father leveled this by hand. All of those rice fields were all done by hand. That's with a spade. That's our house there. Again, I can hardly see this screen on the phone, so if it gets a bit off focus, you'll understand why. There's what they call the comfort room, the CR. So why they call it the comfort room, I'll never know. And whenever I go out, I ride down this path, which is one of the better parts of the path. And I'll show you the tunnel. So we've come right round this path. Boy, I got stuck on this the other day. It was wet from the typhoon, or prior to the typhoon, and I just couldn't get going. As I say, this is the better part. And we go into what I call the tunnel. You can see by that grass there, that's where I laid the bike down last. And it goes in here. As I say, I don't know how the light goes for this because it can't be very great. So that you can see that there's a deep groove. This is wide enough for the carabao. Carabao walks in that groove and makes it deeper and deeper every time, right? And what they do is they drag a sled, which I have shown on my Facebook page. You can see why I would call this the tunnel. When you're riding on a bike, this is a hell of a challenge. Only it's more of a challenge when you're coming back up. And I had this improved when I came, but it deteriorates very quickly. And when you get to the bottom here, right at the bottom is a creek. Now, we haven't had rain for a couple of days, so this creek is really fine. But over there are rice fields, which I'll show you in a moment. When it rains heavily, the rice fields drain off into this and it becomes a raging torrent of water. And then it goes down, and it goes down into that. So there's nowhere to go if you lay the bike down to the right, which is what I did when I was down in that pool. Fortunately, the bike didn't follow me, so I didn't suffer any injury. Then you've got another challenging part here. And this goes up. This is all rock and they're loose. And boy, coming up onto this is an exciting ride. Beth usually walks this, and she walks it up to that tree. As you can see, it doesn't matter how many times you clear it, it develops those grooves. And once they're in, makes life very difficult. But here you can see, that's back to our hilltop. All of that vegetation was planted by Beth's family. These are their rice fields. All these rice fields were made by her father and I'm guessing his older sons, and they dug these out by hand. When I first came here, the father went mining for gold, which there are some gold deposits that can be found in some of the hills a little way off. Very little, but he managed to scratch together enough money from the gold to be able to buy a carabao, and then life became that much easier. But you can see there's a small house there. Believe it or not, you can see that house is maybe 10 by 10, if that. And one of the families of my brother-in-law, Tata, is going to come and they're going to rebuild that house, just put a roof on it and walls, and a family of 4 are going to live there. Not my choice. So then this is the ride. narrow. It's narrow, and what that means for, well, very recently novice rider, and certainly even now not an experienced rider, that narrow path, if you go off to the left, you are in trouble. So far I haven't done that, and I continue to hope that I won't. So I'm walking back home now from taking you on that little sightseeing tour, and this is this is that track that takes me down to the creek, which, when that's really heavily swollen, all of this is water, and you can't see what rocks have been moved or not. I don't know how good your riding is on a motorcycle, but mine isn't so great that I don't look at this with some trepidation. Even walking across, I'm careful. And then that's the sight that greets me. Just coming across the tree, there's that damn tree there which has got my name on it sometimes, I think. And then we go up this steep incline into the tunnel. This is no picnic. And this is every time I want to do anything. When I get materials for the house, it's delivered by a tricycle, and the tricycle driver knows the place now, and he delivers it to the end of the road. And then from the end of the road, we wait for him, and we arrange with my brother-in-law, Manorado, to bring his carabao and his sled. He then takes that stuff, all of the metal stud. He takes it and he puts it on his sled, hitches up the carabao, and then he brings it up this slope with the carabao, and he delivers it to the house. No mean feat. Now, I told you that only until recently there was no power. Well, that's the power line, and it goes off down there to the next one. So I ride the bike up this. And that, at the end of that ride, that is a very welcome sight. So we're back home, and I'm looking at my house. I'm actually pretty proud of my achievement with that house, because I built that single-handed, even the roof parts. The roof is coming up now to be done. I was making up the roof beams when we had the brown out. We got all of this material. And from the material, just basic stud and channel. That's it. All of these little shoes, boots, they go on the end. They go on the end of the and those are all handmade. I just use a pair of tin snips in my hands, and they're all handmade. So they go on the ends so that they're not completely open to the weather. Although the roof will overhang about 15 inches to 2 feet. That's why it will overhang. There's 4 of those beams that you can see there. 4 of them are down here. Once they go up, these beams here, there's one finish there. they lay across. They lay a... Yeah.